welcome to Yellow Corner's Creative Advocacy event. The theme is creative advocacy using creativity as a force for good. And I have two contributors with me, Adenike Oyetunde and Blessing Abeng. These two amazing ladies on my left and my right have done important and are doing important work in their various fields, and they are advocating for using their creativity as platforms for various things that they believe in. So when we came up with this topic, the team, you can't see them, I can see them. The Yellow Corner team, we had been going through a lot of things with the pandemic and with the NSAS movement and the protest. Many of us were shaken, especially by the NSAS protest, and at the same time, kind of inspired by what our generation did. Like, I would say, I'm number one. I was really proud of everybody coming out and doing our bit. But it doesn't end there. What exactly can we do? How can we move? And how can we inspire more people to do better and to do good with the gifts that they have, or with their talents? And as I talk about these two people on my left and my right, we'll see how especially this part of the world, advocating for various causes isn't common. Many people think that it's only the full people, or people who are quote unquote rich and wealthy that advocate or help the less privileged. But we're trying to draw awareness to using the things that you have, using your creativity, whether it's your artwork, whether it's your voice, whether it's the position that you have, to drive good in the society. I will start with. I'll start with Adenike.
Because I laughed out loud.
I'll start with Adenike Oyetunde. For those who don't know, I will just go through her profile. I think I met Adenike in 2000. Wow, it's been a long time, 15 or something.
Oh, wow.
14. Yeah. So Adenike Oyetunde is a lawyer, a qualified alternate dispute resolutor. So meaning you have to settle out of court, qualified human resource personnel, and an emotional intelligence coach. That I know, emotional intelligence, yes. Though she isn't in active practice, she has used her powerhouse status as a veritable voice of influence in media, particularly radio. Yes, I've been on her show once. Being a voice of philanthropy and empathy has won her several recognitions and appointments. She's passionate about driving conversations around the plight of disability in Nigeria, which has led her to establish the Amputees United Initiative, which is a social group dedicated to advocating for and empowering amputees. Her incredible work has earned her several platforms spanning major events and impact panel sessions. Recently, she was appointed as the Senior Special Assistant to the Lagos State Governor on persons living with disability. Adenike uses advocacy to push for and encourage the inclusions for persons living with disability in Nigeria and Africa. She's an author of a self-titled memoir called #Adenike, with all the assets. So this is Adenike Oyetunde.
Yay!
But before I ask her a question, I really like to go through Blessing's profile as well, and then we'll come back this week. So Blessing Abeng is a branding and communications expert dedicated to helping brands identify and communicate their unique identity and tell better stories. She builds brand and communication strategies around products, services, growth, and sales to help brands communicate with their team, target audience, partners, and investors. Her global portfolio of brands includes Seed Stars, Facebook, African Alliance, Intelligence, Dark and Lovely, Bold, see she's everywhere, all the big boys. She's also the Director of Communications at Ingressive for Good, where she drives the mission of the non-profit to create and increase the earning power of African youth through tech training and resources for the growth of the African startup ecosystems. Her skills and clear vision make her a valuable ecosystem leader, and this has led her to wear hats that are value driven in nature. See all the value that is coming up. She has mentored youth in communities like She Leads Africa, Sit Stars, African Entrepreneurship Awards, amongst others. She's trained over 5,000 creators in branding, communication, marketing, and business. She currently creates and nurtures a growing community of over 40,000 individuals inspired by her strides and interested in learning more about branding, comms, and business growth. Everybody, blessing Abeng. And I'm your host, Olatomi Asha. That's all. Thank you. No, I don't have stress for that. Check www.olatomiofgod.com.
Girl, plug in.
Let's just put it in. So yes, I'll start with Adenike with our topic. What does creative advocacy mean to you? So this is your chance to tell us as many stories as you want. So creative advocacy.
Oh wow. So literally you just think creative and advocate, and basically you find out that in the last 10-15 years explaining what being a creative person has become a lot easier, because thankfully the tech guys have made it a funky thing, and now the parents are in the know, like, are you in tech? There was a time we couldn't do all of that. You had to either be a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, or an architect, or let me add engineer somewhere. So look at that as the holistic overview of what being creative means, and then look at advocacy and marry both together. So it's basically, as my mom will possibly think it is, I want tech guys, one sorrow. Basically, that's it. That's one arm. The second arm of it is you have a cause, you have something dear to you, you have something that you believe in, you have a dream that you want to see actualized, and then you are looking for amazing ways to pass that message across to a populace of people who you are certain can help drive home your points. That's another overview. And to me, I feel like those are the two simplistic ways I'd rather want to look at what creative advocacy means. We know that it goes beyond these two things, but I feel like after speaking to you the last time, I was telling me that I don't know which one is creative advocate, which one is and I literally just paused and then I thought about it, and these are the two instances that struck me the most. The latter one more specifically because a few times I've been asked that, what are the things that you want to be remembered for? And I never thought about it until 6 years ago. I was in a Bible class and my friend Judy said, so your assignment is to go write your epitaph. I'm like, what's that? Why would I want to write what they should write when I've died? That who told you I want to be cremated? You're like, I don't care how you want to be, whatever. I'm just saying, idealistically, what do you want people to read? And I did write down a few things, but I remember that that was the first time that the core of what humanity is stood out to me, because at the core of who it is that I am, humanity drives a lot of things that I do. And only recently did a friend tell me that she's found the word for me, that I have damaging grace, and I didn't even argue. Because I'm that one person who everybody will say, fire this person, this person can do it. Call this person, let's see that. So we're having issues, go back 2 months' time. Let's say I messed up the whole thing. Hey God, I should have fired you. And that's who I am. I'm that person who allows people damaging grace. I'm Christian. And I remember my friend telling me, very harshly that Jesus will sit you down and correct you and tell you you are doing this the wrong way. Go get it. He will not tell you you are bad, you are a terrible person. No, he was very, very emotionally intelligent with his choice of words. Even when he was talking to all the people that he speaks to, talking to government, he will tell you, Jesus will tell you you are stupid without having to say you're stupid. You go back home and say, did you just say I'm stupid? So I then now agreed for the first time that humanity drives the essence of who it is that I am. So a few years ago when I was asked to speak at TED Lagos, I spoke about good. I spoke about humanity. And from that moment up until now, I without a doubt see that the things that drive me the most are the things that I know will cause a positive impact in at least one life. I'm not looking for a holistic, I'm not here to change the entire world. I just want to change that one experience from that one family who continues to connect with me. And if I can use whatever it is I have, my now position, which we know is very momentary, the voice that I have, the platforms that I have, been able to curate over a period of time. And I feel very strongly that that is me advocating creatively to ensuring that humanity that drives me and is at the core of who it is that I am continues to thrive. So
okay. They're clapping in the back. You don't need your claps. Thank you very much. So Blessing, I'm going to ask you the same question. What is creative advocacy mean to you?
Okay. I would say I'm summing in one word, in addition to everything I said, contribution. So, and it's so weird that death is often the reason why we think about life. Because it was in one of those moments where I was also thinking about death that I wondered, it can't be that we just came to this world to make money.
And pay bills.
Because after you make the whole money and you die, you're not carrying the money away. It can't be that you came here to just do the family. Because you're not going to go with the family. Like, it's not one of the things you're going to present and be like, this is what I did, I'm being proud of it, and that's it. I thought about what exactly are we here for. One of the most consistent things that I've seen across life is that contribution keeps going. The fact that Einstein discovered something, and he said, this is the new theory I have, and then based on that theory, somebody else is going to create something else. Somebody else discovered law of gravity, but because of the law of gravity, some other guys are now built a plane. And it's just like there's just so many things happening, but it's because one person dared to share. And so contribution just has to be at the heart of it. And I don't even think that we have to add advocacy to creativity, because the idea of creativity is contribution. The ability to use what you have, where you are, to just add that extra thing to the world. And it doesn't have to be grand, it just has to be an idea. It just has to be something extra that just you experience this shift. You never know how far those experiences will go to make someone's life better. And truly, it's just about making people's lives better, making the next person's life beside you better. In addition to that, I always thought about the power of decisions and how, to an extent, we can't keep blaming God for all the bad things that happen in the world. My decision to eat Chinese here affects somebody else's business, that affects another farmer, that affects an economy, that affects. It's like there's just this whole ripple effect to even the tiniest of decisions. And so maybe again, creative advocacy is about contribution, but also about decisions. Knowing that every single decision that you make affects somebody in one way or the other, and every decision is important. Right? So I think those are the two things that drive me, and I'm so happy that I can share that here in this conversation.
Awesome. Thank you, Blessing. Alrighty. So my next question is, how have you used your creativity for good? Because the subtopic of the theme is using creativity as a force for good. So if not you, have you seen instances where people have advocated for others or used their creativity for others, if not even you, how they've used it rightly and how they've used it wrongly? So we're going to check both aspects. Yes, so let's start. You want to I come for coming, so should I just go back?
Anyway, this way.
So let's start with Blessing.
Okay. Well, I see the part. Okay, so first, as you said, I already work as the director of communications at Investment Fund. And the reason why we did that in the first place was because, yes, Investment Capital, which is a venture capital was funding businesses, tech businesses in Africa. She woke up one day and said, there's so many amazing businesses here. It costs way less to fund them, and you get to make so much more profit when they go global. So how about you just, bring a Silicon Valley money and give it to these Africans so they can build what they're building. And so that happened. It started going great. However, back to the contribution matter, you have this great idea, but you can't drive it alone.
Yeah.
So with your brilliant idea, as you start scaling, you start needing people. What happens when you don't have these people readily available? What happens when these people are not skilled enough to be able to push? And people problem is one of the biggest problems in businesses. That's why we created the non-profits to ensure that you could add value by helping people learn tech skills, which are the easiest to learn. You don't have to have a certificate or whatnot to be a tech person. It takes way less time to learn, and you earn way more than people in other industries. So here we are doing this thing, and we realize a lot of people don't like to give money when you're not getting profit. And so we had to be creative about how are we going to get money. Because one of my favorite quotes in life is, if you don't have money, get creative. You have to figure out what dynamic way can I apply the talent and resources at my disposal. Because that's really what creativity is about. Using what you have to get to places that you need to get to. Using the skill where you are, whatever means, to access the things that you want to do dream. So we did that, and suddenly people started supporting us. Coursera came through, Facebook came through, Data Hub, different people came through, giving us courses, giving us money, giving us things, and saying, go do this thing. And one of the strongest stories, we are even talking about this instead of talking about all the other ways I've seen creativity happen, is because there's this lady, she was the first born of 6, and she was making soap, liquid soap for a living to keep her family alive. And she took on about 10 coffee. And just right after taking it, she secured a job as a developer. Salary increased by times 10.
Wow.
Her life changed completely. Different decisions happened. She decided that she was going to take this course. She tried to get through the course, and all these interesting things happened, and she was able to make that happen for herself. That's different people's decisions, different people coming together to try and contribute, different people making creatives to say, graphic design, to say, hi, there's this opportunity available. Somebody putting it in words that they understand, to say, hi guys, you can learn this thing, you can earn this, you can make this if you key into this. Mark Zuckerberg, who has created Facebook and Instagram, playing his own parts when he didn't even know that one day we'll use this for this, right? And so maybe if we keep thinking about how can I use this little thing that I have to tell the story, like when we talked earlier, you talked about NSAS, how photographers. I may not be able to carry a placard, but I can take a picture. So let me use my picture and post it. Influencers know I have X number of followers. Let me use my voice. And if you don't use the voice, you'll never find it. You actually will never find the voice. A lot of people, we spend too much time trying to find our niche, trying to find what we're excellent at, trying to find, I'm trying to find my voice, I'm trying to find my rhythm. But the only time you find it is by using it. So find things you're passionate about, things you care about. Talk about those things. And the more you talk about it, the more someone else who is equally passionate about that thing keys into it and becomes a part of it.
Right. Back to you, madam.
Good and bad. I may not have an instance of a bad, picture, but I feel like God set you guys up, because basically what Blessing and I are saying are actually the same. And I have too many stories, so many, but one story that continues to resonate with me is the story of a family that I had not met at the time, whose son had cancer. He was under 2, and when I got the picture, I can't even remember who sent me the picture now. Very massive, his eye was swollen. And I got the picture on the Saturday, and I then used to do the Sunday morning show on radio. So I was, undecided whether do I talk about it? Do I not talk about it? Same thing about decision. I was very conflicted, but I had an unrest in my spirit. So at the end of my show, I then decided, okay, you guys, you know what? This is what's going on. No, it was supposed to be, there was a segment on my show actually that I would speak to people about real life stories. Because at that time, the radio station I worked with, presenters were not allowed to talk about God. It was company policy. So I set them up, and I would always have people whose stories would take us back to God. So it would be the guest talking about, it was God that did it. We can have a meeting today. I'm like, oh, how was the show? Great. Because really, I wasn't the one talking about God. I'm like, and I'll tell them off and further, go all out on God. Like, go all out. Honestly speaking. And somehow the network connectivity was so poor. I was supposed to have the family over the phone. So I had called, but it was so bad. But so people had listened, just a few. So you know what? This is the story. Because I wanted the father to say when it started, where they had been to, what they needed at the moment. At the time I spoke to him, I knew that the family had now eventually gone to a prayer house in Osun State, because the family had done anything they could, but it was like there was no resolve. And they had been going to government hospital in Abuja, they're based in Abuja, and that was their last resort. So network, blah, blah, blah. And then I thought to share their account details on air. So at the end of the show, my mentor then called me to say that his wife just told him, because his wife was listening, and told him that she heard me cry on radio. I know, I've just said, man, the story touched me, like, why should a 1-year-old have to undergo chemotherapy, that, blah, 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 blah. He now said, okay, no problem, that their family is going to drop 500,000 naira towards it. And then I just started crying again. From nowhere, it was Anita Okoye's birthday. I will never forget. P Squared, one of them. I don't know how to differentiate Peter or Paul. And she had seen the post and had posted, and in her caption had written that if her husband wanted to do anything for her family and friends, that all she wants is this family. And the husband sent me a DM. I remember very well going to my colleague at work and saying, please, can you confirm this? He was laughing and saying, nah, Peter, be Peter. I'm like, okay, no problem. Long story short, they sent all the money. In under 24 hours, we raised almost double the amount the family needed. And sadly, he passed, but the surgery was done. I remember missing the family about 1.5 years after that. I had not been to Abuja, and then the father had told me that if wherever it is I am, or whenever it is I come to Abuja, I should let him know. At that time, I knew that he was a cab driver. He was educated, he was young, but he decided to continue to drive, bought more cars, and just continue to drive himself. So this man took me around to Abuja throughout my stay, and eventually took me to meet his wife. I met the wife, and I remember that in our embrace, our long embrace, she was crying and wailing and said that she wishes her son needs to meet me, that I didn't have to do what I did. So it was then I noticed that she was pregnant, she was with child. And then we said a little prayer and all of that. I remember very well eventually meeting Anita Okoye and just telling her how much her singular act completely transformed their family's life forever. Mm-hmm. Because one thing the father kept saying was, people who do not know us, people who do not have to, people were sending as little as 500 and 1,000. And it wasn't the first time I was trying to raise funds for people, but this one really just touched me in a different way. I suspect because I also had survived cancer, I could connect, and I didn't understand why a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old had to go through so much. It was an opportunity that I had. It was the job that I had at the time. It was the role that I was given that afforded me that platform. And I decided to use that platform for this one particular change. This is a human story. There are many other stories. But what that did to me, again, is to talk about how together as a people, we have such power to change the narrative of whatever else that we hear or we see around us. And I can take that into different aspects, and it's not just about charity. I would use disability cause as an instance. Now, having been appointed, everybody literally just thought I'll just go there and just change. No, the civil service rules. There are civil servants there. And if you know what civil servants do to political appointees,
Oh God.
so I'm learning how to play politics. I'm still struggling with it. I had ill health a while back, and I remember telling them, saying that I would not disclose to them the nature of the ill health. You really don't need to know, but I'm not feeling well. And imagine consistently getting, remember, there's a meeting today, there's an event today. In my mind, I'm thinking, man, so much. A lot of us outside of public service need to get in. And we really need to get in. Because the truth is, Canada cannot take all of us. We all cannot go to Canada. None of us desire to go to Canada. So if we're going to stay here, we need to increase in number. We do not have as much effects because we are underrepresented grossly. There are too many instances where we now understand why, for instance, voter apathy has to change. It's a struggle because you would attend the world meetings and they will fight about rice, Ankara. But those are the people that they know. You are a stranger when you come into their mix. You are a stranger. I'm a stranger to many people in the political front. Who is this person? Why is she here? Why? Because what they know it to be is that appointments of this nature are usually quite often a reward for hard work. We're rewarding you as an individual. We're rewarding you're benefiting from the work of your parents. My parents have played politics for a very long time. But it's interesting that it didn't have anything to do with them. So we're a lot in number. We are so, these days I just sit down and laugh on social media when we are conjuring and all this and that. Because the people who do these things are smiling at us. They're laughing. We need to infiltrate a system that currently exists. Otherwise, there's really nothing. We can sit down and reconvene and then not much will happen. And which is why when people get in there, it feels like you can't hear them. They won't talk. You won't hear anything and they won't resign. You see that argument of, well, if you're not talking, resign. Ladies and gentlemen, nah. Because what I tell people is, if you hear God through whatever means, you know what He tells you. You know how He speaks to you. If He hasn't given you the conviction to exit, nothing in this world will make you leave. Nothing. Now imagine getting into a room where there are 5 people and you have become the 6th person and you know that things can be done. Maybe not entirely different 100%, but maybe if we tweak 25% of what is currently, we will see tremendous change. These people don't understand it. You are not able to explain to them. They see you as a threat. They are scared about their jobs. There's insecurity. You probably go in there with shoulder because you're wondering, you're way younger than they are. It will not work. And I'm telling you, instances of almost every single person who is within an age bracket who has gotten will get an appointment. Some people will be elected into these places. We need to. We'll fight. I'm not messing you. They will fight about rights. Why? Because we live in a terribly and grossly impoverished society. The disability cause for me has opened my eyes in a different spectrum. You hear people who are well-read, well-traveled, well-enlightened say, we need to move from the charity-based approach to disability, and I smile. You are speaking English. Yes, policy must be handled. But 80% of the people you are trying to speak to need to be helped financially, and you think you want to move away from charity-based? Why are we deceiving ourselves? Honest, that's the truth. So you see them, and what everybody primarily wants is just give me something. Meanwhile, you're trying to say, how can I help you? Can you get an education? Can you get into tech? Can you get a loan to start a business? Can you do this? All they want is now. And you now want to shut them up to say we can't do charity. You become the enemy. And we can't afford to move out. What you now have to do is you have to do what they want to a certain degree, so that when it's time, you're there. What you now do is when you get there, now pull to me, come on, please. When you're coming, after you're done and you enter the system, please just come in blessing. Because I know that we have work to do. Mm-hmm. But by the time I now frustratingly leave, that's the end. We're about to spend one. So I believe very strongly that for instance, my own life's trajectory, I've always known I'd end up in politics. Everybody who's known me from primary school, but I'd never conceived campaigning and, hey God, the stress, this, that. And it's a man's world. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., if you are desirous like me to have a family, you now have 3 children and then you want to back to back. Yeah, it doesn't work. The narrative doesn't add up, which is why, again, we somehow in this creative advocacy space, we need to talk a lot more about collaborating. You are my neighbor, I trust you, you trust me, you know the kind of diet I give my kids. Hey, what's up? I'm not around. Can my children come and stay at yours? But we've gotten to a place where children don't even know their neighbors next door. Understandably. Why? The abuse case it's always been there. It's always been there. But because we are now talking about it. Please leave my children. You're scared to leave your kids with their lesson teachers. The driver commutes from school, there's camera in the car. The housekeeper is helping to bathe their children. There's camera in the bathroom. It's just like, when does it end? So I believe very strongly that every single one of us has a role to play. There is nobody who's useless. And Blessing said it. This need to always want to know the perfect way we can deploy our tools only happens when we start where we are. Simple. I'm watching my life. I'd always wanted to be a lawyer. I got into the court for the mandatory law school thingy, and I knew I wasn't going to practice because I didn't understand why a case was spending 15 years. The case that made me decide I wasn't going to practice was just decided last week. Francis Atuche. Yes.
How many years ago?
Yes. She has just been moving on. And I remember very well telling the judge when he was meeting with the law students to say, sir, I've been in this place for almost 3 months, and all that happens the 2 or 3 times this case has come up is just to mention, had a retinue of senior advocates of Nigeria back then, and I knew I wasn't going to. What are you doing with your life? I said, okay, let me go and see how radio works. And then I got into radio. So I see that my life's trajectory is, for me, who is even in that life, beautiful to watch. But what stands out the most is the fact that there's always a common decimal. It always goes back to people. It takes me back to people. People have become the engine room to what gives me joy. And what you will make money. She said it, you will make money. That's what we don't get. But hey, that's my own.
Thank you so much, Adenike. So my next question, you both answered in part. And it's that, young people in the country want to be a part of governance. They're already doing really well in business. They're doing well in the arts. They're doing well in, their own little creative space. But hey, the governance part, how can they, start to build, in that regard? And I like that you've already touched on it. Like, I can't be a new person. I have to drag the next person into politics and the next person. So it's not easy. I shouldn't quit right now. So for a young person who is doing really well, in their space, but when it comes to governance, when it comes to politics, we're nowhere to be found. When I start to talk about politics, it's a headache. And it's amazing because I'm actually wearing my Madam Speaker shirt today because, hey, I'm going to be your Speaker of House of Reps and in this Nigeria one day.
Yeah.
But, when it comes to politics and, we go to register to vote,
Yeah.
on the day of election, everybody's chilling.
Yeah, watching, catching up on their shows.
And tweeting, like Twitter are going to save our lives. Anyway, so I think my question really is how can young people get into this? And
Wow.
I know, we all, people we've seen, young people like ourselves who are driven, i.e. or some, an example, like Banky W, who went as far as, contesting. There are young people like that, but how exactly can we encourage infiltration?
Wow.
Because, and I'm talking from, let me give you a personal example. So I know that I've attended Platform Nigeria, anchored, done by Covenant Nation and all over the years, and I've thought about it. Maybe we should all go and form one political party, something. And the resounding thing I keep hearing is you need to infiltrate what you already have. If you don't infiltrate it, then your voice will not be heard. So I think where I'm trying to move this conversation towards is, and thankfully already in, the system, is how can we infiltrate? Because I don't know how I would feel if I go for a ward meeting or whatever. People are shouting about rice and akara.
You will just stand up, but it's not even not knowing what you would do. What you would do is you would exit the space because you're like, man, I'd rather just be at home. And that's the honest truth. Now, when people say God told them, God told me I'll become the next president. And then you are watching on Instagram and you are thinking, which God? Because politics is a game of numbers. And we always say politics is dirty. In Nigeria, in the US, in Ukraine,
everywhere.
It is the same everywhere. It's a game of numbers. It's a who knows who. It is always what it has always been. There is nobody on this earth who has never needed the help, assistance of one person to ascend anywhere. So when I see, for instance, captions like self-made, I smile because you can't take that to politics. It will take you nowhere. There must be someone. Why are we struggling with learning under the ropes of people who have gone above us, who have gone before us? And I'll tell you why. All of us suffer from a scarcity mentality, but we don't know how bad it is until different scenarios play out. And what it means is, so you get in there and the only thing you want to do is to steal. Or let me not say it that way. The only thing you want to do is to take what belongs to you. Everybody, because it is, oh, you are now there, so it is our turn. How do we benefit from it? It is understandable if not much, the person outside doesn't really get why you are doing what you are doing. But you always inside, I'm not sure who are coming back. And if we are coming back, this sorts us for the rest of our lives. Guess what happens? It's a cycle, and I'll get to it. What then happens is, I have a constituency office. I have an office in my, unit or area, and 100 people are there. 65 of them are there with different requests. From house rent, genuine by the way, from house rent to hospital bills to school fees to money to feed, to basic things, basic necessary things of life. No luxuries. No, I want to turn up, I want to do a party. But because we haven't created an environment where so much is successful, these people have no choice but to go to the people that they believe we see are doing better. Why? Because systematically, they are beneficial. Systematically, everything pays them. Systematically, they earn way more. Systematically, they are protected. Systematically, they get the ambulance when their family members are not feeling well. I can fly them out of the country. So those of us who do not have all of these things find these people as our saviors, and then we do what? Immediately run to them for the help that we know that they can give to us, especially because it is financial in nature. We haven't created a system that encourages a lot more people to thrive. So there is no way under the sun where we would expect that the same people will benefit, or will not benefit rather, illegally when they get into a system. Olatomi gets into it. Olatomi's cousin that hasn't called her since she turned 5. He remembers that they can supply curtain and is looking for contracts. It is what it is. Let's be honest with ourselves. It is what it is. We remember that's how the system works. And it works like that in every part of the world. But what makes ours different is because majority of the structures that we have, one, we do not understand accountability. We do not pay for it. We do not, when we even demand it, it feels like, what's your audacity to do it? And there's now a thin line between the cancel culture and audacity, accountability. Because really, honestly speaking, that I'm asking that you account for something doesn't mean that I'm calling you out to want to cancel you and take away, disparage you and take your daily livelihood. No, 2 different things. So I live in a generation where you're just so careful, like, you know what, I'm just going to shut up and mind my business. So long as I have a roof over my head, my family and I have food to eat.
I can do the basic things.
We must tell ourselves the truth. Temilade, the photographer, posted something a few days ago. He said, your father has stolen monies to build schools. Let me know when you're ready for us to have this conversation. Because they are our friends. We dine with them, we wine with them, we go on vacations with them, they invite us to their birthday parties. They are not the ones in politics. Their fathers have been the ones there. So, well, we'll now go back on Instagram and now say, the government is doing this. No.
Your father is...
Your father, you and I took a picture a few days ago, rightly there, big. Do not dump refuse there. So the caption I put in my Insta story, Buhari really, that, you know, she must have really spent, he brought his debt all the way from Abuja. Really?
It's you and I.
It's you and I. The nature of our problem is basically the fact that we do not love. I'm Christian, and the Bible, Jesus summed the entire Bible into love. Love. If I love you well enough, I will build a hospital that I know would give you good care. If I love you well enough, I will build this road that I know will lead you to your place of business. If I love you well enough, I will protect you so you don't have to worry about the safety of your child coming back from a well-funded government university. You guys know that if we had good running government hospital universities, we'll not have about how many 50 private universities. Why do we want the civil servants to get the monies to pay for their children to get to these schools? Where? How much are these civil servants being paid? So we want to address issues, we want to address theft, stealing, but we are not looking at, so how much are you paying these people? What measures have you set in place to cover these loopholes? We don't do all of that. But then we expect people to get into government and their families to suffer? No. Ain't no family member of mine gonna suffer. It's the, we always and I laugh on social media. So God told you you're going to be the president. How? Does a woman in my village, Adenike, that sells granite on the road know you? Does she? She doesn't know you, but we expect that everybody from your state of origin, case in point, maybe Ondo, will vote for you. That's insufficient to become the president of a nation. Why are we so high? Who has set the pedestal for us that you are too big in your caliber to start from councillor or local government chairman? Honestly speaking, no, but let's be honest.
Yeah.
So you just want to wake up one day and say, God told you. No, now, you guys. There are certain names in Lagos, for instance, that we've been hearing that have been vying for election in a particular place, 1 or 2 places. And you people won't expect that somebody in maybe a battery that has never heard you before, but because God told you in a dream that you become, they won't vote for you. Who are you? You can't get to the nooks, and that's what politics is about. It's about when he became president, but didn't visit everywhere. He had foot soldiers. What are we doing? If he wants to infiltrate his system, then what is our strategy? What are the people that we're getting on board? You know, with politics, it's not about qualification. I went to Harvard, I went to, anybody care. Nobody care about that. What have you translated with what you've given? The people who have ruled us, ruled at the ages that we are now at. And a lot of us have not even figured it out. So the question is, when will we start ruling? At what point? At what age? So I believe that, and I'm going to say this in conclusion, I believe that until we see that benefiting financially is not the reason why you want to get in there, you should be gratified for the work that you put. I'm never going to be that person who thinks you shouldn't. You should. But if benefiting financially is the number one goal why you want to get involved and infiltrate a system and cause a change and do yada yada yada, just stay in your tech space and let's have business as usual, honestly speaking.
That's it. I'm going to ask you a different question, but if you have
I did have a few thoughts, and I think some of these thoughts started when I traveled. So I would travel all the time, right? But last year was pretty dramatic for me. I was sitting in a bus. I was taking a bus from. I was going to take a train, but I think something that happened. We're late or something, so we had to take a bus. And we took a bus from Maryland to New York because my aunt had just died and our only surviving son was going through it and he was alone. So I was like, I had to go see him. And in the bus, it didn't feel like a bus. They had thought about where I would put my bag so I could have leg space. They had thought about how many stops we needed to have so I could feel rested. They were communicating with me in a way, and I'm not saying this in the whole of the US. I'm just saying that one experience made me feel like I was spot on. And I kept asking, what makes America so special? Why is America the front for politics, democracy, and all this thing? And I couldn't shake off the fact that it was the fact that they were citizen-centric. So in all this advertising that we've done, if there's anything I've ever learned, is about your focus on your target audience, your focus on your customer. And if running a business is work, because you're focused on your customer, running a country should be work. You shouldn't come up to the country and be fatter. You should, Obama take great out because what you've been positioned to do is help people make decisions. You're making decisions that affect thousands of lives, millions of lives. It's like you have to decide, should we do this or do that? This is what's going to impact the economy. This is how it's going to impact our people's freedom to travel and access particular. It's so much. It's so many decisions and you're literally playing God in some sort of way because you have to calculate opportunity cost. We have to lose one to get on. You're put in a very bad position. And so first, I feel like the citizens have to understand that when we pick someone to represent us, what we're saying is, I pick you because I trust you enough to be able to make decisions for me. And so if I put someone who cannot articulate in front of global leaders, who cannot speak for me and tell me my problem, or speak my problem, speak my heart, who doesn't think I need to be addressed on the day of freedom, who doesn't feel like I need to be addressed after the country has just bled, what I have said is, this person represents me, represents my thoughts, and I am comfortable with having that person speak and think for me. And so when you start seeing things from that light, I think it makes politics a little bit more realistic. And I get that we're traumatized because we had to. No, we are. We are. We've gone from solving community problems to community solutions. We're solving community problems with individual solutions. So there's possible we buy bigger cars. There's no lights, we buy bigger generators.
Buy the transformer.
The whole country has started to shut down. Okay, we move. Let's go to another country. Because at the end of the day, it's either we all die together or I save myself.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's why people are not that interested in going into politics, because majority of the people who are in politics are not that interested in making the country work. Because if they work, they can't take as much as they've been taking short term. Nigeria is poor.
Simple.
Dangote felt it. I'm sure Dangote must have realized when the dollar price went up, the value of his wealth went down.
Yeah.
And that's why he's now diversifying.
Yeah.
So we are poor.
Yeah.
So we need to start asking ourselves, or no, rather you've already been asked. So the solution I think would probably work would be, as she has said, yes, we need to go into counselorship positions and all those things. But beyond that, we need to go as a group.
Simple.
We can't
in our
keep
numbers.
going one by one. You're going to be raising up. When someone formed a political party and alone that person was going to run for president, I keep thinking majority of the people in Senate who are decision makers are in two political parties.
Yeah.
So even if, yes, I know it sounds difficult to have another political party, but let's all let's agree that you're going to run for this governorship, you're going to do this, you're going to go as councillor, you're going to local government chairman, little things first. We need representation in the Senate.
Yep.
We need representation. Like if we had good and functioning Senate, the president doesn't have that much power.
Yeah.
If we had good people in police, and then if you can just filter out the people who are not working, like I know civil service is inflated. Because if me alone enter, there's still no assurance.
None.
There are people who are going to drown me, and if they're tired of drowning, if I don't chop my own, they'll kill me for not chopping. Yeah. So it's literally like you're putting your life at risk, but the strength is in the numbers. So if you all decide that this is the strategy, or even if you don't all decide, the people who have said and indicated interest in little ways, let's all come together and say, okay, how can we do it? You don't have to, if you really care about Nigeria, I don't think you have to be a president.
No.
And that's what I always look at. I mean, when the current president had run a couple of times and lost, I kept asking, you lost.
Why?
You loved the president and you loved the country.
People.
What did you do after you lost?
Nothing.
How did you help?
Wait till another 4 years.
So if you really care, do you understand? So if you really care, yes, maybe you can't be physically present in politics, but maybe do social entrepreneurship. Yes, there is hunger. What can you do to alleviate the hunger? You know, if you're not interested in running, that's fine. Everybody has their place. You know, you're interested in making the world a better place, but you don't want to run social entrepreneurship. Do CSR, but don't do it because you want to get in touch with it. Do it so that people in
actually do it because you want to get touch with it. But
please
do it.
Do it. Everybody, like, the thing is, when you do it just for tax, you don't really care too much about the cause. You don't really care too much about how it goes, about the results. You don't really care.
So long as on paper you have done it.
And then it's PR. You don't PR. You pay us to come and promote that you're doing it. But if you're doing it because you truly, truly care and you want to see the standard of people's lives increase, then it means that salaries in your private sector, you won't be paying people bigger amounts because you want to keep if you just in life where you are now, just find a better way to make the world a better place and improve the lives of the people you can improve directly first before you even start looking for position. Just the one you can do now. If it's your voice, you can use it. If it's that you can make someone's life better, if it's that you can give somebody food, you are earning X amount, you're making so much money, but you can also afford to buy a bag of rice for your kids, man. Do it. Just
thank you. Thank you.
So passionate.
So I'm gonna stay away from politics for a bit.
Okay.
And then back to creativity and in different industries. So in fashion, in stuff, I work 9 to 5. Even if I'm a tailor, my madam has the ultimate. What's that thing called? What's that thing now? That thing that you guys have in the law, what's that thing? Gavel, yes. Whatever she says stands. I'm in advertising. My creative director, or in fact the CEO, has the ultimate. Even if creative director allows my idea, and then the CEO comes and says, actually, no, it does not align with our brand, or that's not the kind of thing I'm trying to push. How exactly do you advocate for your work, in such organizations, and how have you been able to do it? I know that I have come. Adenike has already mentioned an aspect of it. She talked about when she was on the radio. But bless it, I feel like it might come to you more easily because you're already in the non-for-profits. But can you just highlight how maybe instances where you against the organization's will, or you had to be stubborn in order to get some things done?
It's impossible. I worked on radio, and I remember one of my first biggest hours was we're talking and we mentioned vagina. Yeah.
What are you supposed to say instead of that?
I don't know.
Private part?
We mentioned vagina, and I'm not sure if we had mentioned penis earlier, but we mentioned vagina, and then our boss ran upstairs. There was a show that we used to run then, one of the best shows, in my opinion. And then a few others have now not replicated, but basically just flown with it because it's died. And the regulator called and said we're not supposed to use. I was so infuriated, like in mid-conversation, by the way. So we had to go on a break. It's impossible. What do you do to an NBC? What do you say to an NBC? Who then does what? Fines. They don't outrightly fine, to be very fair. You will get warnings. You most likely will get a visit. They'll visit. Yeah, you most likely will get a visit. So if you get a fine as a first offender, then it means that it was a grave offense. So what do? What I found out was that a few media owners who themselves were stubborn would back their employees and will say, you know what, we'll damn the consequences. So imagine getting fined 500,000 and you're earning 110,000, and the employer says, you will pay. So they would split it over a 12 calendar month. Where from 110, they're probably taking out 25 every month. Now I realize that from the 110, on social media, you're a big boy or big girl. You work on radio, you're speaking big English. You're only taking home 90K. Now, you pay the entirety of the fine. Now compare it to a different organization where the organization then has a meeting with you to say, we cannot pay the full thing. We'll pay half, and we'll pay that now. We'll send all the money. Because if we don't pay now, they'll probably shut us down. But what we'll do is, we'll pay maybe it's a fine of 500. We'll pay 300, 350. You are very valuable as an employee. So we'll just spread out the 150 in the course of, to make it convenient for you 1 year, so that we're just taking like 10K, 15K. It's nothing heavy. I said, oh, no problem. You can actually take out from this month's salary and the next, Now, you're already paying that employee like maybe 320, or maybe between 280, 320. Not the going rate as people know it to be. Your employees, all of them have verified social media handles because your IT team has applied, and boom. So that's giving them the clout on social media. They can earn money. They are influencers on air and off the air. Tell me how the employee in company B would not actually stay back. Want to stay back? Why? Because my employer try you. They've no fee pay. They try. Kiliko. But your employer is not saying don't outrightly break the existing rules, but they are basically telling you, we have your back. Two different, and this is the reality of what happens across boards in Nigeria now. Radio, TV, that's what happens. Grossly underpaid. There is no union. So there is that singular voice that fights for them is not in existence, which is why a radio station can, with full chest, owe her staff for 1 year in a pandemic year. Yes. It's not compulsory. It's not working. You guys, you have to go. Shut it down. So it's very difficult. And in this particular instance that I have given to you, when you have a regulator whose rules are so archaic, you need to read. I don't know how many I have it. You need to read the rules. You need to read the fines. Fines of when the rules, when would we sit down and review? We're not asking for an entirely new one. We're only simply saying, when would you act like you have us, the end user, in mind, and not use the rules of the military era under a supposed democratic dispensation? So it plays out differently in this line. I mean, you see, the conversation has extended and expanded where people have said so many things. Unfortunately, the ministers are equally not helping. Because you hear one thing, you see a headline, and you also need to remember that with newspapers, it's usually clickbait. So I'm not always in a hurry when I see a headline. I want to read how did this person say that the social media that is causing that wanted to break Nigeria? Under what circumstance? Was a question asked? What was the question? When that line was said, what had this person said before and after? How did it end? Because it's always easy for social media to cause.
Yes.
And the perception they have of social media is that place. They are
Those
vile.
people.
Those people. And you've wondered, have you given us a chance? Have you heard us? Do you want to even hear us? Do you want to hear us? So it's with this radio, and I'm using this NBC one because it applied to me. It happened to me. My colleague was the one that was fined 500,000 and had to pay. When she was leaving, she was still owing the company because she had not finished paying. Aha. So what then happens?
Okay. For me, though, I don't think it's entirely impossible. I mean, depending on what industry you're in, one of the biggest and easiest way to navigate would be just have your own personal brand, which can come off as...
Sorry guys, I hope you're not affecting the camera. She said what was in my head.
Just have a personal brand. I don't think about personal brand as that thing you have to have, like, and do a certain way, and have 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 followers. No. Like, even if you have 100 people, there's this person I always talk about, Yasmin. She only has less than 4,000 or 5,000 followers. But the things she talks about, people engage, people listen, people take those things and talk about them sometimes.
Elsewhere.
Because if you really think about it, like we had initially said about the value of one person, just thinking that one person is listening to you is enough.
Yeah.
If you had 100 people sitting on the table, you can't even eat. It's a long table, you know. And so even if you have 10 people, 20 people, serve those people who are on that table first, with the hope that, you know, anybody else who is joining can still find something to eat, or even better, those people on the table would go and replicate their
elsewhere,
more and better with what you're giving them. So if you have a voice, I mean, your work only masters you from 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Right. So right after the 9 to 5, they can't police what you see. I mean, except. But they shouldn't be able to. I mean, I think he can't even do it with his full chest. You know, he has to still find a way to.
Yeah.
So they can't police you on your 9 to 5. They can't police your personal brand. It's your freedom of speech. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. And so if you feel like there is something you can do with fashion that's going to help the next person out there, help clothe another child, help reduce the cost of, you know, of buying clothes, help recycle, help build a sustainable environment, right ahead and do that, you know, with the little that you have. That's where you are to get to where you want to be. But if again you feel like, oh, that personal brand is too risky, the kind of things you want to say, social media has made it possible to stay anonymous. You can just be anonymous. We can be hearing your voice and don't know who you are. You can hide under a name that we don't know. We're calling you that name. It can be anything. Yeah. We'll call you the name and just be like, Anonymous has been speaking for us. And Anonymous will gain traction. To the point where sometimes Anonymous will not want to be anonymous. Like they want to know their names, right? And there is that. But if that doesn't also work for you, there's also the option of working with people who share your values.
Yeah.
From the get-go, I know life is hard, Nigeria is hard, and sometimes you're just looking for the next thing that you can latch on to. But in an interview process, I always say that only the employer is not the person who is calling all the shots. You have a part to play as well. And as long as you're bringing something to that table, you can ask the things, you know, you can ask questions. And if you're asking questions and the questions you're getting, the energy you're getting, I feel like before we even work with bad people, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
So if you're already getting the vibe, you're already with that.
I need to use that line for someone. Before we walk in bad places, we
already know.
And so you just your body has told you, but you are maybe justifying that, oh, good morning, this program.
I need it.
And I also think about it for clients as well. Before you get it for the clients.
You know.
So like before you enter, just know, does this person share my values? Is this person willing? We say we want to cover news. Is this person willing to tell the news
as it is?
Or are they going to stand beside the other person for profit's sake? And also understand their part. Are they playing the long-term game? Are they playing the long game as in, let's stay alive so we can report some news, but not everything take us off there. Like you just really need to I'm serious. Like it's Because if you're not there, you will not have the job at all.
You wouldn't actually.
Do you get? So also understand, and that's playing that long game brings me to the last part, which is like circumventing. Fine, play on the rules. Like when you're standing on the line and you're playing the game with them, but they can't hold you because you're still within the rules. It's just that you're finding cuter ways to navigate those rules or bend those rules to favor you. So if they say don't say a certain word, great. Make jest by saying a different word that still means what we're trying to say, but we're not actually tackling it. So they can't go and be like, but you said this thing. It's like, no, but I didn't say that thing. It's literally like how in law, you can find interesting ways to just sort of navigate particular problems. Let me give you my personal story. I worked in advertising. I still work. But I worked with an agency and they had given us, I don't know, if you work in advertising, this professional, like, we want to go viral.
No,
what's the trend?
Everybody
must know us. Our followers must grow. And it's like, okay, yeah, who's your target audience? Everybody, anybody in the east and the west and the south, they must know us. And the north, everybody must know us. And so that was one of the briefs that I got. I had just moved into this agency. And so we had used one of those African parent jokes where somebody had complained about an ATM and said that your ATM is high on drugs. And I'm like, he had said something and I was like, you're the one that said that it's high on drugs now, so can you help us with some sort of prescription on how we can manage our thing better? We just joked about it and letting out laugh. He said when I'm not and he was referring to TBL. And then I said, king of the storm, master of the storm way. And we just made it a whole joke. And it was in line with Ankomi's style of comedy. And the thing just really went viral because the guy was laughing. It could have gone wrong.
Yeah.
It could have easily gone wrong. But it was so relatable. It was young, fresh, laughed about it. Next thing, see people calling us from every new and cranny in the world. How would we make such a joke? And then this was also the time when we were using Game of Thrones to teach people about finances. So we were already doing so many things that were too much. The change was just too much for them. It was too much for them, and they were freaking out. So at this point, we brought the results and say, oh, look how many followers we've gotten. See how many PR we've gotten. We didn't pay for any of these things. This is the number. Like, are you not proud of us and everything? And they're like, see how many people have opened new accounts, and they had that. So they were like, no, but some people will clap for us, some people will shout at us. But it was this middle line where they couldn't point exactly what we had done wrong because we did not break any law. Do you get? And so there were ways to sort of stand on that thin line. When they say you cannot insult our guy at the top, you can say some things where people would know that that's who you're talking about, but that's not what you say. You can tell stories and say story once upon a time, and you use the story to tell like animal farm. You didn't call anybody's name. And so it's difficult, yes. And it takes skill, which is why you're creative. But you can try. Right? You can try. But if none of that works, so you just do your personal brand and chill.
I'm going to even write on that personal brand part because I think that's the easiest way to do whatever it is that you want to do personally. Aside like outside of your agency, outside of your 9 to 5. So many creative people complain about the environment in which they work, and I think I gave you the example earlier about let's say your organization, or let's say your people, like the people you work with, understand that I'm not driven by money, but sadly most of us are driven by money. But when you aren't driven by money and driven by money value, or you're driven by value and doing good, it's different. It's you face different things in that same organization. So the same organization that seems harmful or seems stifling for one person isn't stifling to the other. It's a thriving environment for the other person. I just feel like for people in the creative industry, whether it's fashion or whatever, if you're in the fashion industry, for instance, and is it aligning with yours or the path which you want to go and set up your own personal brand? That's one. Or to look for somebody who is in that space and collaborate with the person instead. I just feel that there are so many ways to do this thing, but we tend to just focus on the one way, and we just expect that our 9 to 5 should be the ultimate saving grace, the one that will save our bank accounts and save us. But no, guys, we need to look for Yoruba will say on a call waja. You know what I mean?
Is it one?
Literally, there's no. It isn't just one
entrance into the market.
There are several entrances into the market. So yes,
I like what you said about personal brand, and I think it's good for me to explain it. She didn't say go and start your company. Calm down.
Calm down.
And it's very important. Calm down. There's a reason. It's like love. Rarely would you see anyone finish from your squad
And start their own love practice.
You must, no matter how harsh the conditions are, you must learn the ropes from a good law firm.
And even while you're at the law firm, you can take
It is
good
then,
cases, non-profit cases.
yes, it is then because money isn't everything. We need money. I'm not going to tell my landlord about, sir, I'm going to work, but I wasn't dreaming my money. She needs money, But someone told me recently that if you need to write down what your values are, in that list you will have trade-offs. You will know the ones that is one. If you're a person that I don't lie, under no circumstance would you lie. You know that anything that has to do with lying, you cannot handle. If you're a person that, okay, this one, it depends on the circumstances of the case, let's see what happens. That plays out. So I feel like because we do not always know what we stand for, there's so much confusion when everything happens. I was earning 86K on radio for years, but I was intelligent. Your conversations are always so deep. You and your colleagues, I was taking 86K home. It wasn't time for me to start. What was I supposed to do at that time? Open a radio station. Do you know
money?
Do you know what it is?
And the podcasting wasn't even that hard.
Do you even know how much it is to get a license? Forget what has happened in the last 3 to 4 years, 5 years. Everybody is my mobile phone and somewhere I'm podcasting and somewhere. The world has completely changed. So radio, which is still the widest and biggest source of information now, has in this part of the world, is now trying to stay afloat. Why? Because of podcasting. The only edge they have is the cost of data. The moment that is slashed, that's it. Their competition becomes stiffer and even clearer. Radio, just on radio, we are good to go there. Distribute data. Howard Stern had the best, biggest, widest reach in America. The regulator was following him from one radio station to the other. They were always, it was obvious that they were just on his case. He didn't argue after a while. He did what? He's online. He's on Sirius XM. He has 40 million people listening to him. Like, what? Every single day when he's online, Sirius XM cannot let him go. Year after year, he's signing millions of dollars in contracts. But they moved through a space. We will get there. We are getting there because it's just very easy to start. There's so many podcasters now.
Yeah.
There are many podcasters, as many as there are many sound podcasters. Sure. When we get to that point, it's when we'll now start to see it. The wheat from the shaft. These ones are these. Honestly speaking, and you will know the ones that we love gist. Guess what? Baby and Tools are taking it beyond visual. They are always leads. Like I want to watch and see, like, so you mean they're really mega straights? 2 breaks ahead every wow. They have gone beyond because they also know that they have a competitor who is equally visual. But the only thing they have the edge over their competition is they are feeding our eyes.
Yeah.
So now we are seeing it as visual, there's lipstick, there's eye color, there's this. For someone like me that really doesn't matter, guess what I told myself? It excites my eyes, so I watch it. So we are getting to that space where at the end of the day, with media, and I chose media because that's where radio will chillax and see that, oh no, this 500K we're asking for 15 minutes for it to come on air, There's one podcaster that all they need during their podcast is a bottle of water that has your content. That's it.
Yeah.
And they are collecting 60K because from the bottle of water, one of them is picking up a pen and is writing. There's another something there. The other person is this place is hot. Oh, there's another. In one show, they have made from 5 different brands. So the narrative is changing, and if you are lucky enough to have people in your life who are open to holding your hands, it helps you. People who have gone before you, people who have gone ahead, somebody that has been working with advertising and then established their own. There's a read books. Beyond just Banjo is one person that still outstands me. The extent to which he has gone, he has a book. Read his book. Buy the book. You can't have a one-on-one. Stop looking for mentor and down. It's only saying. You know, but honestly speaking, follow them on social media. For a person who is genuinely passionate, there is no way you separate them from that, what it is they are known for. Every single day, they will continue to dish out things that will benefit you. If you follow Blessing, for example, sometimes when I saw her downstairs there, fish was what she took us to a fish farm. And then I was just looking at fish and then looking at chicken, and then she put the comparison. I was thinking to myself, oh wow. She curates her content intentionally. And for someone like me that's following over 3,000 people and your page stands out, you have done an excellent job because I pride myself, I'm a smart person. This is what it is. But when you see people who take simplistic everyday things and then blow it up, after she has now finished, you now say, oh no, man, this girl just told me that I'm stupid, I'm not thinking about this in my life. It's really what it is. Honestly speaking, it's what it is. So you may not have a personal brand yet. It's okay. Pay your dues. Everybody has paid their dues. Every single person you see successful today has paid maybe apart from millionaires, has paid their dues. They have served under someone. I just finished reading a book, 3 Kings. And the only thing that stood out to me was PDD's growth. Literally put his hand in the mud. Was an intern, was carrying. So those things that we see in Nigeria, I can't be buying coffee. I can look, everybody, what shows, it is a part of the process. How did I get my radio job? I just told them I wanted to intern without being paid. Like, you don't want to earn money. I'm like, yeah, I just want to see what happens. And I just started to learn how to maneuver the consoles. One day, the OAP just did not show up. I was just there to learn. Let's see the station manager comes up and says, you're going on there. To say what? And that's how I got my radio gig. I said it was a flop. It was a flop. So it was a flop, but it registered. And that was because I had produced the news. And I didn't know that the newscaster in their meeting had mentioned, oh, have you noticed this intern? She knows her way around the console. Majority of them were just there for celebrities. Well, where is this way coming? Well, and I have no business with. It's never been my interest. So you need to know the things that add value to you as a person. And once you know them, all of us here are still bringing it out. Nobody has it all figured out. We are winging it. Like, we are winging. That's the truth. He has become president. So then what next? He has written book. Because you have to ask yourself that kind of, what next for a person like Obama? Travel the world. You get tired. So everybody is going through, okay, this is it. Okay, this is that. Just find it. Take your time. Hone your skill. Intern, tutelage, mentoring. Doesn't have to be one-on-one. Buy books, read articles, follow them. If you know people, someone that knows somebody, be friends with that person. People say, I want to intern on radio. I'll tell them category. There is no space. There's no radio station that is looking for intern. Do you know anybody? What's your best radio station in Lagos? You don't know. That's how I always say, do you have a best radio station? If you have a best radio station, you must definitely have a best online personality. If you have a best online personality, we will look for a friend.
Or a friend that.
That's the best way to enter.
That's even going for. Internet is giving everybody like a level playground-ish in a way. So start. Like the people I'm seeing in movies now who just started with kids.
Yes!
Just kids. It's like,
that's so true.
Yeah, it's like just kids. And so if you are doing your own and you're being accepted, I'm so sure that right now, FK Abudu and Jola, you don't even have to go and talk too much to any radio station. You go there to pitch and they want a station, they will get it quickly. Like there's also a DSTV show that I've been following recently. He started off doing the show on YouTube, and now he's got a place on DSTV. What's his name? Something guy. He talks about men. He talks about men. I can't remember somebody. But like, there's so many people, and it's not like one person. There's so many people that's happening with. So you can't just keep making excuses for it. So one of my most interesting people that I love so much is basketball. I don't know how to explain it, but I'll try. He started off with crack your ribs, frontline comedy, right? And then all these people started doing skits. But guess what? He would do his skits for shows that he was going to have. And the skits were funny. And so he thought, okay, let me do one other interesting thing. He started doing this inspirational thing with his guy Uchi. They would do it. I'm sure that thing started as a random joke, random argument they would have. They would look for sponsor. Or they will do it and sponsor will find them. So if tomorrow they now go to DSTV and say, I want to put Papa Benji on DSTV, they have very good background for it. And I always say results are always like the thing that
he has a new one on the brand side.
Yes, I saw that. Where you come and just give him cheese.
He's smart.
He's an example of circumventing and saying what you are not supposed to say. And seeing it, and you have said it, but nobody can hold you responsible. You really need to check that out. But last thing I'll add to all this conversation we've had is share. Everybody wants to own the idea. We want to execute it. And so if you're in a position where you notice, I can't execute this thing, get somebody else.
Collaborate.
Like, it doesn't even have to be collaboration.
Ownership,
It's not even collaboration.
So it's better to own
So I have this idea
10%, 10%,
4% or something is
rather than
100%
of their.
I learned it from Terra Culture Story. If she tells you how she got to owning that place and the percentile, you will be amazed. Look, all you need is 1% in a business that is thriving. You see that 100%, that habits we have, carry everything and it doesn't mean anything. It's not what it is.
It's really difficult for creators, I get it, but still, like, it's not about, sometimes if you think about, COVID is a perfect example. When COVID happened, it stopped being about, I want to be the first person to bring out the vaccine that is going to, see how all these different pharmacies, everybody came together to find a cure, find a vaccine, find something that's going to keep humanity alive. And if they all had percentages, that's great. Did you know that Apple has Samsung chips in some of their phones?
Yes,
and they pay Samsung. So why we all tearing our shares for competition, It's crazy. It's quite crazy.
So the conversation has been really.
We dragged it longer, sorry.
No. Has been really good. I said we 13 or 4. So
Okay,
sorry. That's still it's fine. But yeah, we just need to wrap up. But I've enjoyed the conversation so far. I like that we touched different industries. I didn't see us touching politics, but we did. So different things that we've talked about when it comes to politics, we need to go in together. Numbers, yes. Adenike has said numbers. When it comes to other aspects like marketing, advertising, fashion, whatever it is, it's important that you also look for your own platform, look for other platforms aside from the 9 to 5. There are different ways, like we said on Okon Waja. If you don't know what that means, we interpreted it like 10 minutes ago. You can just rewind the video and go back to see it. But basically, there are different things that you can put your hands on. There are different things that you can do, and to help or to help. And yeah, I think that's it. Sorry guys, I feel like I just bored you out in the last 5 seconds. But it's alright. But it's alright. So last words. Creativity as a force for good. Last words from both of our contributors. What do you have to say? Maybe there was something that you thought you would talk about when you get here, and then I did not give you an opportunity to do so. Please, before you hand me on the course. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, so I've written some things down before I came.
You see?
I just checked now.
Yes.
The first one I wrote was protect your interest. Second one I wrote was protect self, register trademark, mental health, because creative people are actually highly prone to mental illnesses.
Yes.
So please, because of the journey to know, really protect your mental health.
How can we protect our mental health?
Okay, so for creative people, you need to understand processes. I realize that comparison is one of the things that kills us. We want to get it now. And once it doesn't happen, we are sad, we are depressed. It did not happen, I borrowed money here. So one of your first circle to reach out to for you should be family and friends. People who will be gracious to you and give you a longer period. So that if you tell them, loan me 150K, I'll pay in 3 months. The reality is to say, mommy, our 3 months may not work. Please give me till December. And you're probably in September of a different year. You're saying give me till the next December. If by March of the next year you're able to refund the money, by all means, please pay back. So I feel like the third one I got was processing is connected to protecting yourself as a creative. Remember very much about processes. For someone like me who is Christian, I have grown up with so much God breaks protocols, God breaks. So yeah, he does, but he's so into processes.
Yes.
There's a seed time, there's a harvest time, there's a time to wait, there's a time to work, there's a time to lounge and travel, there's a time to just stay in Lagos and just be in your house. So understand that processes will happen, and it doesn't mean that you're not making progress. Define for yourself what success means to you. I beg of you, as a creative person, define, do not let the pump and pageantry of social media derail you. Because the reality about it is you who's looking at those things as being worked. The people who are putting it out there, a lot of them have put it out there from a place of work. So somebody is putting out that they're premiering their movie and they are doing all these people. It's because her father added money to the business production. YouTube, whether he has money, it's really not difficult. Please, and I'm going to say it again, define success for yourself. What does success mean? What are the elements that would amount to success? Remember that money will be a part of it, but money shouldn't be all of it to what success would mean. If you've been able to impact 10 students in the arts faculty, University of Lagos, who are planning to do planning to get here, one of them are getting grants to shoot a short film, you have succeeded. Because you can actually add that in your CV and say,
I mentor
XYZ person. So define success for yourself. Don't do more than yourself. And I mean in every area. Don't rent a place that you know you don't have a plan. I get that you have plans and plans. This guy that owns Pop Central, I can't remember his name. I just read his book, and it's one of the most daring human beings I have ever read. He did not have money, but guess what he had? He came from a family where they had. So when there was need for him to move into a different place at different points in time, Daddy, please come and buy a camera for me. Daddy, please. And his parents were willing to support. Not everyone is fortunate enough to come from a home where they have means and where they even support you to that extent. If you do come from a home like that, please use it. Don't let stubbornness and pride, rubbish pride,
self-hate.
Honestly, the hunting for grass to break. No, not all of us will come from grass. And this is what it is. The circumstances of your birth, you had nothing to do about. But your life story is what it is that you're now trying to define. So please, I beg of you. And why I'm saying this is, we get so carried away. Ola told me I'm supposed to, when will I buy a car? Because you're still driving your jalopy. But you've forgotten that in her final year in university, her father promised her a car. 6 years down the line, she just said, Daddy, where is that car you even promised me? Oh, it's true. He buys her the car, but all that you see is that she has a new car. You never really know the story until you know the story. So just stay within your range. Don't do more than yourself. And it also applies if you with your partners in your relationship. The people that you're with determine a long way what your drive is. If you're with someone that is just pushing you in anyhow direction. Your mind is not settled. You can't even be creative. You can't even churn out anything. It messes up a lot of stuff. Be very, very giving of your person to people, because that's the only way people will create a safe place for you as well. Life is give and take. You can't keep take. I can't go and say go and look for a community of friends. If you're not a friend to people, nobody's going to be your friend. It's as simple as that. It's very, very simple. And it helps creative people a lot, because there will be down times. There will be down times. There will be times where, guy, what you did, I don't get food for us, I want shop. They'll be there house now, you just cook fried rice. You go there, you learn, they give you to go. They'll give you the next morning to go. Because when he was also down, you went to grocery shopping and you dropped it in their house. Probably bought diapers for his child that he didn't even know where he was going to find money to buy that. Because it is being creative. And now we're in a space where creative people are now understanding that money is very funky. So once you have it, look for people who can advise you. Invest now when you have it. Those are the things that even people abroad did that we did not do. If you are a music person, read that book, Three Kings by Zach O'Malley. Honestly speaking, he broke down Jay-Z, Dr. Dre, and P. Diddy, and their three lives. The only thing that stood out for three of them is they saw the future. They saw the future and they went for the people that they knew could help their connect. P. Diddy was not going to go and work anywhere if he didn't know that, this person, if I work in this place, I'm going to connect with this person is going to connect with that. And that's how he got his hands in so many businesses. We creative people need to start to wake up and see that there's money in creativity. There is money there, but we just need to come together. If you've had an investment that has benefited you, call the next creative person. Stop holding these things. Otherwise, we go back to the same circle. People turn 50, 60, 4 ill, start to raise funds on social media for one thing. It's not, it doesn't gladden our hearts. Insurance. Insure your health. Life insurance for your partner, your kids. We have equipment. Insure your equipment. Please, insure your equipment. We have a car.
But it's hard to do equipment insurance in Nigeria.
It's hard.
People will do it. That's why I say talk, share stories. By the time you put it on social media, you start a tweet. Just tweet. You see people. You will see somebody there that will enter your DM to say, "Oh, I saw your tweet." You start to peruse.
And if you have your receipts, you're better.
Keep your receipts. If somebody does, I don't know how it works when you buy off somebody.
They would give you their own receipts, and then also show that they have the
transfer ownership. Insurance is a culture we have to. I'm talking to myself because there's something I'm busy to insure. I'm like, man, 300K for what? But I know how insurance saved me last year, and I coughed that money out in the month. No, like I insured it in March. In April or June, if you see the accident, I was there lounging when the insurance company sent me complete money, fixed the car, and I moved on with my life. For the first time in my life, I understood what it meant to have comprehensive insurance from 5,000 naira second. What's that one that you do? Insurance. So please, let's insure equipment, your house. You buy a smart TV. I didn't even know. My friend bought smart TV, insured. So I saw him broke it or something happened, an accident. Next day, she got a new one. So like, your fridge, go and insure your fridge. Yeah, they can insure it. Let's do this. We need to do these things because those are the only ways that we can protect ourselves. And I talked about health insurance. Please, out of pocket is not easy. I beg of you, insure your health. Please, it's from a place of personal journey. I know how much I've spent. Insure your health. And when you are blown, you can now do life insurance for your dependents. Full stop, full stop.
Thank you so much, Adenike. And then I remember when the first time we met.
When did we met?
Wow. Gloria Doesn't Inspire series in 2014 and 2013. Wow. Yes. Good. So blessing.
Oh my God. Okay. So thank God Adenike has said me so. But that self-awareness, I think, is where it starts for every creative. Because once you're in the creative space, it's so easy to compare yourself and compare. And you forget that there's skill differences, personality differences, just vibe differences. There's just so much that is different. And if you know that you're different, it makes it better because the way you approach life is not how the other person is approaching life. And there was one day I woke up and I saw that, in fact, two things happened that day. Elsa was doing some partnership with Valentino, doing children's book. Elsa Mujambo, the funny girl.
Yeah.
And then this other girl who had done poetry for Jolene's inauguration was in book. This is cool.
In our lifetime.
So people have been doing social media. You understand? Even we've been doing
Other boys are
social
just
media.
like this.
Yeah, that's just like this. They've been doing social media for years. They've been posting consistently every day. Paris design. And you're sitting out there. Ah, yes, you've really gotten a thank you for that. Meanwhile, there are these people who just laughed and changed what chewed chips and just there. And that's what it looks like. Until I was now on her live, on the Valentino live that she was doing, and there was now a manager that was like beside a guy who she had shared her ideas with, who was now even helping with creative ideas, creative scripts. People who dared her, who gingered her to call X number of persons, time and chance when we met her. And that became a phone call bedtime thing with all this Dave Chappelle and all the celebrities. It's like there's so much you don't know that happens behind the scenes. So first, know yourself. Know what you can do, know what you can't do. Know what you need improvement in. Know what you're willing to dabble into. Know what this is not for me. Know how to I feel like, the advice where they tell you can be anything you want to be is so true. It's so true. But the reason why a lot of us are not is because we don't have focus. And this occurred to me very recently. Tosinola saying your Money Africa, who's my friend, she's always talking about compounding. Compound. And compound interest is greater than simple interest. And I'm like, yeah. Well, what I never thought about was how this comes to life. You can't compound if you are investing in 50 things at once. You need to pick the things you want to compound in, focus, because then the returns make more sense. You need to pick your friendships. You need to pick the things you want to keep improving yourself in. Exactly. You only have 24 freaking hours. And that's why sometimes people will tell you niche. But it doesn't have to be that deep. You don't have to niche. You have to just think about, there is this thing that I like. Can I like it for 1 year? And see. Or even 3 months. And see. There's this other thing that I've been experimenting with. Can I experiment for 1 year? This habit I want to build. Can I try? And it's not little by little. Adenike was talking about taking out coke, sugar from our diet. And to be honest, I never thought I could do it. I could do it. But one day at a time, one step at a time. And it doesn't have to be too much. Like just 30 minutes. Just try 30 minutes. Say, I want to build a personal brand. 30 minutes every day, I'm going to do something that's going to help me build this personal brand. But in all this, also don't forget the power of friendships and people and just having the right people. Because if we all grow together, we'll grow together. That's true. I never used to be that person who could easily just cut people off. Because I would always want to find, how can we make this work? What could we have done better? Yeah, well, the last 2 years, I've learned that I can't be a great friend to so many people. I can't. I can be a great friend to 100 people than I would be if I had just 2 friends. So if I pick the friends or the people that I want to surround myself with, I know who those friends
and they want to surround themselves
with you. You know those people? Great. And see, there's this thing called, is it collocation or organizing, where you can batch people in different places where this one is my friend. This one, we understand our creativity. We know that together we can help each other. So we're going to be collaborating. We're going to be doing things together. There's so many instances in the creative circle where 2 people have been doing something together and one is blowing, the other person is blowing too. Anita Browse and Token.
Yes.
There's so many examples.
Yes, right? That synergy is
that synergy. Like just find people don't have to be friends. You don't, but you're cordial, you know that if I make it, you make it too. I name you in groups, you name me in places. Yes. We keep going. It's like, and okay, we want to do this thing. Like, yeah, great. Only Anita does my makeup. Yeah. And we keep going together, and that loyalty is something that a lot of people don't have. Yeah. The other thing, oh my God, is don't work for free, work for value. I talk about this all the time. And that goes to the define success for yourself, because value is different things to different people at different times.
Yeah.
For me right now, value might be I need $5,000 right now. That might be value. But for somebody else, I want to be on BBC.
Yeah.
That might be value. For somebody else, I want verification sign. So if I'm going to do
Do
something,
you know what they are saying?
it's not safe to buy it. But really, Frank Logan told me one story that was super. His name is actually Guido. He told me one story that was super interesting. He posted something. That's his video. I think it was Real Wedding. Real Wedding where he was doing clapping, like photoshopping himself into hair. And he posted it, and Facebook reached out and said, "We would like to repost." First, Facebook already has rights to your content, but they still ask him, And they weren't going to pay him Shimbai. But he saw an opportunity. It's like I could easily say, "Do use my content, except you pay me 1 million, blah blah blah." Or I could say, "Great, you can use it, but since you guys found my content useful, do you mind giving me a Facebook verification?" Which a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
And then you see that at the edge, because when you're going to put it up, it's like I have verification on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Yeah.
And so I can charge these other people money because I've gotten value from this or that person. So don't follow people to say, "Oh, what is this?" No, there's this thing they say, exposure does not pay bills. Me eating with exposure, maybe for you, exposure might pay your bills in the future. Maybe. Just maybe. That girl who spoke at Joe Biden's, we don't even know if they paid her.
Did you see how
Her numbers, yes. Her numbers just like that. We're just watching.
I saved it. I saved it before, and I went back the day
So
after.
look at it.
And not only had she become verified, she had at that point she had over a million. Now she's over almost 2 million.
And she's on Vogue. And now I think Forbes called what's her name? Majambo, Elsa. Because now we know she plays chess. Who knew that before? Without her, she's like, so for you, exposure might not mean something.
And that's a brand, by the way. People that want to do brand and do Hermes bag and stuff.
Yeah.
Elsa does those kiko on her hair. Just braid her hair.
You don't have to, and
She looks homeless in her
Exactly.
videos, but hey,
you don't have to have everything. The rules have changed. Like you don't have to post designers to be. People follow people just because they wear everyday clothes and teach them how to use everyday clothes.
Yeah.
The reason I love Emanuela and I follow their story on YouTube is not because Emanuela is funny. It's just because they took videos, right, with what they had. If you go to their first videos and you see their current videos now, you see the growth, you see the difference, and it feels so good to be able to say, I watched those old videos. And that's my own bragging rights. That I watch those old videos. So if you don't have phone to shoot, borrow your friend's phone. Give the friend credit, acknowledge that this is the person's phone, so it doesn't look like you're doing grass to grace. If it's not working for you, use your own phone, do black and white. Black and white takes away saturation.
Yeah.
That's why I used to put black and white before, because it's not because I didn't have this phone. I didn't have this time to do
think of filter and stuff.
It was so stressful. I even tried it recently for 6 months, and it was stressing me out. And it's like I have someone to say, but this thing is slowing me down. I go back to my black and white. When black and white is not working for me, I use an emoji on an apple that cartoons your face. It's called an emoji for the videos, I think. So I'll talk and I will gist and I will be moving. And so things like that, just find what you have and make it work. And I think the last thing would be to, contribute. So I feel like this contribution, I know I've talked about it, but don't think of contribution as something that is too again. Think about it as sharing. I'm learning public. It's like I'm just about to learn this particular thing, and I'm going to show you how I'm learning it. Not because I am grand and I'm excellent, but I'm also comfortable to make mistakes in front of you. You're going to see me fall. You're going to see me mess up. I remember learning how to use chopsticks, and I was using it on Instagram, and I laughed at myself. People laughed at me, but it was okay because I knew that being a failure is different from failing.
Yeah.
You can fail in projects. You can feel as using chopsticks, but it doesn't mean that I'm now a failure. And so just knowing that by sharing those little day-to-day things, you're contributing, you're sharing ideas, you're inspiring people to try, you're inspiring people. The day I found out about this compounding thing, I just shared it. I just talked about it. And so many messages on, oh, blessing, I'm going to go do this thing. I'm going to start this thing. Wow, I dropped this thing for the longest time. I'm going to go do it. And so contribute. You're going to have creative blocks But that's when you're overly thinking about creating content. If you just live, you just like live life, you're just putting yourself in scenarios where you're constantly learning. Creative block stops being a thing because it's not about writing perfect or designing perfect. It's about just doing, giving what you have.
I'll say that I've always wanted to have a YouTube channel, always. And at the start of this year, I was sitting in my car, and always quite well, we stay not so far from each other. I'm doing dosing her kids, her friends, to edit her, cook, helping people. To myself, for what? So, decided to record 12-15 minutes videos on YouTube, and apart from last week, I have not posted every single week. It's not the best of videos. I'm not making money. I think I have under 500 subscribers, and they big deals in me. I feel like on top of it. When I tell myself, 500, I said, shut up. And I remember Adora maybe told me something. Continue. Yeah. Just do it. Just do it. There's never a perfect time. And there is never a perfect time to do anything. So I'll normally just maybe stop at my friend's place. Let's do video. By the way, we are doing video after this. And I will just post and just talk about very random, interesting things that speak specifically to me. Will there come a time where I will have a production crew? Yeah, sure. I would love to. I would, but I'm not going to take out of my pocket now to pay, because first I need to provide value consistently for one, the numbers to increase, and then nothing like word of mouth.
Sure.
Whether advertising, you can advertise all you want, you can pay all the influencers. But the truth about it is, if the person enjoys a particular service,
It will tell somebody else.
and for people who follow me, I know how my friends fight. My friend literally drafted a rate card for me. Literally drafted a rate card. And I told her, I said, it's okay. No, nobody is demeaning you. It's like an unwritten standard across the globe. You would carry coffee. If they tell you to carry coffee for Beyonce now, you will bring your daddy and your mommy along. That's why they want your brother and sister to come. Why? Not because Beyonce will give you money. Access.
Track record.
I interned with Beyonce. Nobody is going to ask you,
what did you do?
I carried copy. No. And you added value. When they told you to talk, you talked. When you're supposed to, you
can intern for Beyonce, you can intern for me. That's just the thought.
Simple. So please. It can work. Let me be quiet.
I wanted to even ask you. I know you had a not so excellent experience at radio, right? Like and negatively, but you could also say that you got you learned. What to do, but you also learned what not to do.
My best. I had an amazing. I would say it over my employers gave me a platform at a time where I'm not sure many people would have, and I still owe them so much. They fired me, that it's okay, we'll take your resignation. But I've been at that point where I was saying, it's time to go, it's not time to go, it's time to go. So it didn't shock me. So the station manager was like trying to explain, I'm like, I've been in this place mentally, so for me, this is literally the sign. It was part of the process. So again, like she said, I didn't know how powerful radio was till I left. 2 years I was sitting in a cab, taking me from my house in Korea to VI, and I was on the phone, and the cab driver goes, "You are Adenike." I remember sending a message. I say, "Why does he end?" 2 years after, this guy had written a book and had been looking for me to read the book. I'm telling you, I can't forget. I'm like, okay, so my mother was a local champion in their area. My child is on radio. Then I took her to TV. My mother. So it was really a part of it. I had no single animosity. I'm still friends with everybody. I did book tour, Wakade. I had no charge. That was enough exposure for me.
So the final word though, I think the last thing that I wanted to add was she also mentioned like you have to stay consistent, which is true. But for me, what I've now defined consistency as is as simple as brushing your teeth. Right? I say this all the time and I've explained. So during the lockdown, I was brushing and I was like, everybody had been asking me questions about consistency. But I wake up every morning and I brush my teeth. However, there's been days where somebody brought food and it just ate and I forgot to brush my teeth that day, or there was an emergency happened.
Sorry, I eat before I brush my teeth.
Are you serious?
Oh my god. I understand
after taking your bath or
before.
Okay.
Because he has to wash your teeth and but yeah, so I was like, why who taught us that we had to brush our teeth every day? And the days we miss, I understand that. I get it, I'm serious. But the days we miss, right? The days maybe an emergency happened and you had to brush out and you forgot. But does it now mean that you say I will never brush again? Because we as creative people, when we post or share, nothing is happening, or maybe something even happens in our lives, we disappear for a while, then we start feeling shame to come back like, how would I explain? Would you explain? You owe nobody. You owe nobody an explanation. As long as you come back, as long as you wake up and say, today I'm strong enough to continue, and you continue, that is consistency. The ability to come back and show up as much as you can. And it's okay to quit things. If you've been consistent and then you realize
it's not working.
It's not working. Or it has worked, it has run a certain course, but you don't feel inspired to go back. It's okay. Don't kill yourself. That should not be the idea. Find other ways to reprogram the idea in a way that you'll birth more, but don't kill yourself. Chop life.
Don't let life chop
and be taken care of.
I think this combination is when she says something, then I have something else. Chop life. Don't let life chop you.
Yes. Realize and be taken care of.
Yes. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming on this show. It's my YouTube channel.
Don't forget to click subscribe.
Please subscribe. Tell them what to do. Like, share, like, follow. Please follow. Also, that's yellow corner. So also follow them on social media. And
they will put please don't stress us.
We'll put
it on the screen.
But don't ask me.
I don't think they
don't ask me. Don't
do that. Please don't do that. Thank you. And then also go on Adenike's YouTube.
Adenike Oyetunde. That one I'll beg.
Subscribe to your channel.
I'm going to record
subscribe.
YouTube videos with them, and I'm going to post it. They don't know what we're talking about.
I'm sorry.
So
I
please
just
subscribe.
collaboration. It's okay. It's alright. Thank you so much. I know you can't see the team behind the scenes, so thank you. Everyone behind the scenes. Thank you guys so much for making this a reality. I like all the things that we have said. I like even the conclusion, about creative people and mental block and creative block and all whatnot and starting and what do they say if you don't continue, yada. We know how many times we postponed this episode that we're having, this event we're having. We know how many times we postponed. The last one was in March, right? April, May, June. It took us 3 whole months. But we're here. So thank you so much. Yes, that's it for today. What else? So look behind your seats. I have goodie bags.
Oh, for real? Is there cards here? Don't try it. Oprah. You get a card.
I'm not Oprah. Amen. I'll get that soon.
Oh, Jesus.
I'll get this soon.
No sugar.
I didn't get the sugar.
They should have some sugar. I want to have sugar.
Over this.
Oh, Jesus.
Thank you. Oh my God.
I have a companion in the car. Oh, Jesus.
So Yellow Corner is something that we started for people in the creative industry to help with being better, living better than just their work, or being better and being more than just their work, and also to help with mental well-being of creative people. And it started during the lockdown by Olatomide, Asha, and his colleagues, Taiwo, Wale, Patrick. And they started that in, I think, about July, August of 2020 during the lockdown to just help them cope and they opened it up to the public when everybody could go out. And I joined one of their sessions. Don't tell me to. They're telling me to hurry up. I'm not hurrying up. I joined one of the sessions in I think October, and I've been welcomed into that family. Really and truly, we've helped people, get raises at work from our sessions. We've helped people change their jobs and knowing when enough is enough. We've also helped other people recognize, when they need to give back or give more into, their hobbies or whatever it is that is bringing them joy. So we're just here to improve the well-being of quote unquote creative people. Peace out.